Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I am so glad to be here with you today. Evidently, Tally has learned a new trick, and when she hears my music come on, she comes out and lays down next to me. So, hey, Hummer. Hey, Philippa. Hello to anybody that's lurking out there. I hope you are all having a great week so far. I am. I'm tired, but happy. Had so much fun Monday. I had a photo shoot, had a photographer come out, and we spent 3 hours both in the studio and down in the garden. And she was wandering around taking pictures. And oh gosh, it was so much fun. So hopefully, I forgot to do this. We have a sound check. Everybody can hear me okay, I hope. How empty the background is yet doesn't have all my stuff all over the place. I did finally clean things out. Hey, Joanne. Hi, Sue. So yeah, that was just really funny that Tally just came right out as soon as the music started. All right, let's flip the cameras around and I will show you. Okay, sound is fine. Thank you. Always good to confirm because sometimes I forget to plug the cord all the way into my little portable thingy, which, as you might imagine, does create a problem. Anybody remember this piece? This is very, very old. This was probably a couple years old. Let me get my comments caught up here. Hey, Michelle. So yeah, this was before wildscapes were a thing and just sort of starting to play around with ideas and French knots and stuff. And there are a lot of different things that went into this that have my mind going. So right now I'm in this transitional phase because I finished the huge piece and trying to decide what I'm going to do next. I am trying to finish a few old projects in case I get accepted to open studios, and I will have them available for sale. And then some things I'm going through and I'm just saying, you know what? I don't want to put any more energy into this, and I'm putting them into the abandoned art pile. So please, if you are not on the newsletter mailing list, make sure you go over to my website and sign up for it because I will be posting the abandoned art sale only to people that are on the newsletter mailing list. Yeah, I did cut it a couple times. I cut it here because I ran out of fabric, which is too bad because this was a fabric I had lightly dyed, was really cool. Then I put it on this piece of felt and I ended up cutting that too. So what I've decided in order to finish it off and go on a 12 by 12 canvas is, and I don't have a lot, this is a favorite colorway of mine, but this was a different dye lot. So I really don't have a lot of it in this dye lot and I kind of want to stay similar. And I'm just going to keep doing vines until I run out of this yarn. And I'm not sure, I kind of feel like I might do something else, but probably not. I want to stop myself from trying to, it doesn't need fixing. It is what it is from this stage in my life, and I'm going to be okay with it. But I do want to get some more vines on it, and this will be an easy fix. And yesterday, I laid all the unfinished projects that I felt I might want to finish out on the island in the studio. And then I decided to not finish some of them. So I put them in the abandoned art box. And then I decided not to finish another one and put it in the abandoned art box. And so now I think I only have like 5 that I want to work on. And I've been trying to just kind of make some plans. It's like, okay, the big piece that I finished has got a really big price tag on it, understandably. And then I'm going to be working on some 18 by 24 wildscapes or 16 by 24, whatever the standard canvas size is. Maybe it's 16 by 24. And those are going to have a decent price range on them too. So I was trying to think of how I could explore some new areas and maybe do them smaller so they would be a lower price point. And I've been watching some videos that I had saved on using the embellisher, and I've got some ideas percolating. And what would be really fun is it would be a series that it could be never ending. And I'm not going to say any more about it than that, other than that they will be small. I don't know, maybe anywhere from, 4 by 6 to 8 by 10 and nothing any bigger than that. And I may or may not mat them. Hey, Kat. Good to see you today. She said it's so challenging to come back to a project when there's been so much time in between. It can be hard to get back into the flow of the piece. That's it exactly. Because we do these pieces to figure things out and explore directions we want to go. And what I learned with this piece, what I really love is the variations in height. I get bored with doing something that's completely flat. So just doing this stitch over and over again without any variety in heights doesn't work for me as well. I love looking at these beautiful hand embroidered pieces that are very intricate, all the flowers or the thread painting that people do, but I have no desire. How big is the background cloth now? I think this is a napkin. So this is about 15 inches square. So 14 and a half inches square because it's kind of wonky. And I had originally put it on another piece of fabric for some reason. I have no idea why. But yesterday when I grabbed, I have a whole bunch of 12 by 12 canvases. And so when I grabbed that, it was going to be great to, let's see, do I have anything? I have a box that'll work. When it gets stretched over the canvas, when I have enough of the vines, let's find an area that's got more, like down here. So when it gets stretched over the canvas, the vines are going to come over the edge. And I really like that idea. So I do want to, as I see the felt popping up, I realize I want to do some more vines on here. And I think that'll be an easy way to finish this one. And that's kind of what I told myself yesterday. I looked at the two, the browns and the black pieces that were really heavily beaded, and I'm thinking they're going to end up being sculptural, and that's fine. So I know what I can do to finish them off quickly. Kat said, I also love that you're allowing yourself to not finish some pieces. Just like you said, sometimes the purpose of a piece isn't to be complete, but to help us learn more about our process. Exactly. And one of the things I put in my maybe box to get rid of, but I had to take them off my board, is I had a whole lot of French knot experiments that I had combined embroidery floss with wool. Hey, Barbara. And I did not like the glossiness of the floss against the wool. Now this has got some floss, but I don't know, it's not bothering me when they're in bullions, but having the French knots in wool and the French knots in floss. And I remember why I was doing it. I was trying to use up threads, and I thought, I'm not so sure that I like them. So I just put them in another box so they weren't staring at me on my to-do board. Kat said, maybe layering different colors of vines and overlapping them. I was thinking about that. I was actually thinking when I use up the green that I have, I might take like some single strands of the floss that's in here and then go the rest of the way over it. But again, I'm not going to, this is not going to take me months of my time. I am going to get to the finish line so that it can be done. And again, watching some of the embellisher videos, I thought, oh, I had a couple of ideas on some of my hand painted fabrics for vessels. I did want to make a bunch of vessels to have for open studios. And also, you know, they can go at a lower price point. And instead of couching things down by hand, I can use the embellisher to couch them down. So right now, it's really about getting the mind churning with ideas and what I can do next and how I can create backgrounds. I want to do, I guess I could start stitching, huh? That would be good because then I could actually make progress. I want to do the seashore, but I realize what bothers me about the idea of doing the, and I shouldn't say bothers, what is discordant to me when I think about doing the beach is it's flat. You know, I mean, I know it's not perfectly flat, but it's more flat. And the stuff that I like to do that gets really vertical would have to go underwater, which is another thing to do, is the underwater, the coral reefs, that sort of a thing. But I have all these beautiful shells with holes in them that I want to use. So again, have to be thinking about how I want to do that. Is that a direction I want to go where it's more of a landscape, a beach landscape piece that goes on the wall? So, you know, again, it's just something to be thinking about. And yes, Kat, they're experimental, and we have to do that kind of play. I was watching a couple of videos, old videos today, and again, the people that were doing beautiful work that I admired, that were inspiring me, they started off playing. One gal was recovering from being ill, and she said, she dumped out her mess of threads, which I've been sorting my threads and scraps that I keep, all my greens in one pile, my dark greens, my light greens, my browns. So, it's just fun to think about, oh, I'm not on a deadline. I don't have to finish something by a certain time, and I can just play. And yeah, Michelle, vessels, there's just so much we can do with the vessels. And even if I decide I don't want to make the vessels myself, maybe I will just finish these pieces as flat things, and people could either make them as a vessel or into a journal cover. Exciting to have ideas percolating. Absolutely. Barbara says, think beach dunes with grasses and flowers. Good point. Yes. And been thinking about how I want to make the sand. There are definitely ideas going on how I want to make the sand. So I'm just kind of thinking about where I want to go next and what is going to help me grow as an artist. The other thing is realizing in my art meeting this week, one of the things that came up from the people in New York and people that are doing they exhibit in a lot of galleries, and a couple of gallery owners were saying, people are still buying art, but they're buying, art at a lower price point. And so it's good to have that variety. And that may not be the pieces, a vessel or a small piece is not going to be something likely that goes into a show. But if I have a variety of small things that I'm working on, then I can have a big piece that I'm working on without a deadline for a show. Like I have an idea of something I want to do that's all black, completely black, with a little bit of white in it. And I have the title and I know exactly where I'm going with it, but that'll be a big piece. I have an all green thing that I want to do. I want to do a huge all green thing, but it's going to be big and it's going to be time consuming, and that's fine. But I need to have some smaller things to work on too. Barbara said, it's exciting to have ideas percolating. And yes, it excites me to hear all this. Yay. So what ideas do you guys have percolating? And vessels, I had done a vessel that I was sometimes there are pieces that I wished I'd held on to a little longer, but they taught me what I needed to do. And one of the easiest ways that I have found to do vessels is to have a rectangle, stitch over it, whatever you want to do, and then grab a piece of paper. Okay, this would be a very small vessel, but you have a rectangle, you do whatever you want to it, and you simply make your cylinder, make your bottom, and you could, if you wanted to, if you want to make a really wonky vessel, you could stitch your thing in together, and you could stitch your bottom just like that and make a wonky vessel. And they don't have to all be, rectangles that go into cylinders, but it's an easy place to start. And what's nice about working on something like that, like I started doing a lot of vessels just with a piece of felt, because you had that small rectangle. They didn't take long. One of the things I discovered in my stash of hadn't gotten very far with them projects was lace. And I don't know, some of you guys might remember way back when I hit 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, I did a giveaway and I had 5 lace covered journals that I gave away. And they started by just taking all my little scraps of lace and laying them over a piece of white fabric and stitching them down and then doing embroidery on top of them. And so now I'd like to revisit that idea, but go in a slightly different place. Wow, I am like not paying attention to what I'm doing. So that means what we're going to do here is we're going to come off. Well, okay, let's do this one, and then we're going to come off. So let me know what you guys are doing. Are you guys have ideas rolling around in your head, things you haven't started yet? I don't sketch much, but I am trying to kind of jot down ideas. I'm trying to think, this is really hard for me. I'm trying to think now about how something would be finished off. Like if I'm making a bunch of small pieces, Okay, let's just say they were all going to be 5x7s. I could, because I think I have a bunch of 5x7 mats in the closet. So I was going to check that out. So I thought, okay, I could do 5x7s and then just mat the piece behind that. Or I have a ton of burlap, tons and tons of burlap. So I could finish them on there. And the idea of these flat pieces, they're a lot less expensive to ship. All right, so let's see. We're gonna add something here. Barbara, Sue wants to know how she can contact you personally. If you're okay with it, Barbara, I can certainly email Sue your email address. Okay. Oh, Sue said she'll message, Barbara said she will message you on Facebook. I've got a mess behind the scenes here because this has just been a real crazy, not paying attention to it kind of thing. So I think I want to come back here. Because I don't have to come all the way to this edge. Michelle said, I bought a lot of burlap too, painted some. Yeah, that's a fun thing to do with the burlap. And then hopefully it keeps it from unraveling too much sometimes. Which way do I want to go? I think I'm going to come out a little bit farther. Hey, Terry. Oh, it does, Sue. And in fact, I have done it with sprays. I've done it with alcohol inks, although I don't like to use the alcohol. Well, I got rid of all my alcohol inks. You can do it with acrylic paint. You can do it with coffee. It does get some interesting effects if you do some coffee dyeing. All right, we're going to kind of come out this way. Hey, Carol, how are you feeling? It looked like you were healing. Barbara said, Sue, there are a bunch of Sue Browns, as you might expect. Waverly High School Sue or Wilmington College Sue? It happens. There is another Susan Brown in the next town over from me that has a much more established artist in the area. So open studios and everything. I made sure people, it's like, no, you must use Susan Taylor Brown to differentiate between us. All right. Hey, Mouse, how you doing? Okay, Barbara said, I'm welcome to give Sue your email address or anyone else. All right, will do. Carol says, healing well, thank you. Still sore in spots, but getting better. I am glad to hear that. And yet you're still working on your projects. Mama Boom Bam, hello. Happy to see you here today. How are you doing? And thank you. She says, beautiful work. Mal said, it's true. I keep seeing flyers for Susan Brown's work and thinking they might be you. Nope, she's a painter. So she does beautiful, beautiful paintings. And of course, I do not paint. Terry, what are you up to today? Sue, what are you up to? Did you start working on your secret garden? All right, we're gonna just kind of come out just a little bit more, just to give some variety here. Carol said, little by little, Susan, mojo comes and goes at the moment. Absolutely. Yeah, we were talking just before you got here about just how I'm in this transitional phase after finishing the big project. And it's like, okay, what am I going to do next? I'm not quite sure where I want to go next. Kat said, I just posted on the Creative Circle my current work in progress. Oh, good. I go check it out. I was, very lazy this morning. Just did my walk with Tally and sat and had my coffee and watched old videos I had saved. Sue said, ideas for the secret garden kept me up half the night. So now I'm too wasted to actually work on any of them. Oh my. Sue, Barbara said she messaged you. You'll have to reply and she can give you the email. Kat said, it's an embroidered canvas that I'm hoping to make into photographed prints. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm taking a look at what I've got that I might want to make into prints and what I might, whether I want to do a collection of cards. I don't know if I have enough variety to do a collection of cards, so they might be ones with all the same photo, and I don't know if that would be as popular. Terry said, oh, I'm working on the aluminum can earrings. Barbara said hi to Mouse, Mama, and possibly someone else. Michelle said, Terry, that sounds like fun. Carol said, this one you're working on, Susan, is beautiful. Thank you. I was explaining to people when we first got here that it's an old piece that I'm revisiting so that I can finish. So I'm just going to do vines out to the edges. Hey, Andrea, glad to see you here. Hope you're having a, well, you must have just gotten up, right? I think it's morning. I never keep all my little time zones straight. Hey, we're missing Tanya. I don't know what time it is in Scotland, but she's usually here. Barbara wants to know, Mama, do you have another name we can use if we're in the crowd? We do always like to be able to call people by their actual names, if possible. Some people like to keep things quiet. MBB for short. There we go. All right, I'm not worrying about tying knots or anything left. I'm just going to leave my threads and keep going. All right, looks like we have a bare spot over here. Yeah, I'm thinking because I think I'd get too heavy if I do the same thing here. So I'm thinking these other shades of green in floss, because especially since this has been cut and it's a real loose weave that's going to want to fray. So, and I don't have anything out here, but I think this is the only other thing I have in a light green out here. This shows a little bit. So yeah, I'm thinking if I start layering, I might not go that light. I might go just to see if I can find anything that's like just a shade lighter. Got all these little tiny scraps from sorting my threads. I think Mama is one of the quiet ones. You are welcome to be quiet. Absolutely. You do not have to participate. We like knowing who comes in the room when people feel okay about letting us know they're here, but lurkers are always welcome. Sometimes people are working. They got their hands in glue or stitch or what have you. And we're just glad to have all the energy here. Ah, Mama says, I've been hacked in the past and stalked, so I keep it on the down low. Yeah, you need to protect yourself online. I'm sorry that that happened to you, because that is just a horrible experience. I'm also looking at threads I have and yarns I have and yarns I don't have, and trying to decide. Oh, absolutely, Mama. No worries. You know, different things I can do with them, other elements that I can make, because it's nice to have things that I can just sit in front of the TV and kind of mindlessly create. So it's kind of back to the playground is what it feels like for me. Back to the playground. All right, let us. I think we're going to come off of this guy over here. And I do not normally work without a hoop, but this piece, if I put it in my big hoop, it would be really awkward under the camera. So I'm a little slower, and that's okay. It's not a race. Sometimes we make it feel like a race, that we have to get something done in time. Yeah, back to the playground. Absolutely. If you're not having a good time, you know what I say, stop doing it and go do something else. All of our creative outlets should bring us joy. And if they're not bringing us joy, you haven't found the one that lights you up yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it just takes a few tries. When the photographer was here on Monday, we were talking just about the evolution of, started with writing and then went to making books and playing with paper. And, that led to the layers of nature clusters and that sort of thing, the Just Because books, which got me excited about stitch and fabric, which led me here. And don't be afraid to abandon something or, okay, I am not the only one. I know we have all of us have got stuff that we bought that we thought we were going to use and we didn't use. And then we beat ourselves up because we didn't use it. I'm not doing that anymore. Now, some stuff I got rid of and I'm like, oh, dang, if I still had that stuff, I would do this thing. But it's not the end of the world. If I really, really, really want to do that thing, I'll head to the thrift stores and look for some more. Sue says, I've returned to adding stickers to a junk journal yesterday and today. Yep. Play with your stuff. Have fun with it. See what floats your boat. Barbara said, I'm working right now on another shrug. I'm always looking for the perfect shrug pattern. Maybe this is it. And are you knitting or crocheting? I can't remember. Barbara said, sounds like fun, Sue. I've been seeing some enviable stickers lately. See, and I thought all that kind of stuff really excited me. And then I acquired all this stuff and it was like, wow, not anymore. I did wish that I had held on to a bunch of colored lace that I'd gotten rid of, but then I realized I had all the black that I wanted for this black idea that I have. I know, it's very, Sue says, truly have a hard time just playing. It's been years for me, Sue, to figure out how to play. Absolutely years. Kat says, right. Sometimes the purpose of buying it is to realize that that's not where our passion was. Gift it or donate it and move on. No need to feel guilty. Yeah, and we are, I'll make a generalization here. As women, I think we are more prone to feel guilty about that sort of thing. Barbara said, this one's being knitted. And Mouse says, Barbara, do you ever finish a shrug and feel it's just kind of shrug? You crack me up, Mouse. Absolutely crack me up. Sue agrees. It's a great thought, Kat. And we have to be kind to ourselves before we can expect the world to be kind to ourselves. Barbara said, I just posted a short video of the local craft thrift shop. Call out to artists, bring yard clippings, and create a 36-inch circles on a little road through the park. Oh, how fun! That sounds like a really good time. What a great way to have a collaborative project. Hey, Wendy, how are you doing today? Barbara said, Mouse, I finished this shrug twice already and torn it out. Actually, this is the 4th time I've started with the same yarn. So it's the pattern that bugs you, not the yarn. Huh? I know sometimes knitters and crocheters will say the yarn is not something. Well, same thing with stitching. There's some yarns that I'll make pom-poms out of that I don't like to stitch with, and vice versa. So this is a good mindless thing to do. Watching the baseball game, I can sit and stitch, and it doesn't need the hoop, or the fabric's stiff enough that it doesn't need to. Barbara said, yes, it was Easter Sunday, and I took pictures and posted. It was called Compost Art Under the Canopy. Oh, that's wonderful. I love that idea. I know art in public places is a really big thing for a lot of artists to do that sort of thing in community art projects. Kat, did you get your order from, oh gosh, Black Sheep Dye Works? And did you fall in love with their yarn? Wendy said, all okay, just fighting with my embroidery hoop. It won't listen to me. They can be really crotchety sometimes, can't they? We did a fun thing playing with the embroidery hoops with the photographer. I hope some of these photos, the play around photos, come out. It was really neat to see. Oh, thanks, Barbara. Yeah, please inspire us in the Facebook group with that compostable art. And we think that we don't know what to do next. Sometimes you just need to go out into the yard and rearrange some things that are out in the yard and realize that ephemeral art is also a real thing and an important thing to, getting the brain going in different directions. Mouse said, Barbara, I think if I spent a long time making a shrug and I didn't really like it, I'd probably shrug and wear it anyway. Oh, Kat said, I'm almost already out, wishing I had the budget to order more. I know her stuff is so fabulous. And she's so consistent. It's one of the things that I really, really love about her is I can always count on her colorways to be consistent. Barbara said, Mouse, I do have 2 finished shrugs in that category, but this one, when it was finished, I didn't even want to give it away. Ugh. My problem with shrugs is, my hand's moving around all the time. I can't keep them on. Barbara said the compost art, all those beautiful circles are swept up and added to the compost at the end of the day, like monks and their sand paintings. And that also, something like that kind of builds some confidence in the fact that you don't have to make something that's going to last forever. It's okay to make something ephemeral like that. It teaches you to be in the moment and let go of any expectations. The only people that are going to see it are the people that are there that day. You don't have to worry about being judged. You can just go play. And I like to do that in the yard. I'll go by and pile rocks up or leaves or twigs in an interesting fashion. And then the dog runs by and knocks everything over, or the bunnies hop over it. I was so mad the bunnies today, I could see them on the camera. They're eating all my monkey flowers. Finally blooming this beautiful red for the hummingbirds, and the bunnies are eating them all up. One of the things I had done to attach this green to the background was I did some iron-on stabilizer. I do not do that anymore. I'm not crazy about that. Yeah, very frustrating, Sue, because we like our flowers, right? Barbara said, all of these were astonishing. The little table set with a teapot and plates, but the one I loved was simply grass clippings and those tiny white daisies that are growing all over the grass right now. Stunning. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to see it. I just love that kind of stuff. And somebody else here will know who is the artist that does all the art out in the wild with branches and stumps and things. Monkey flowers are so exotic. They do look exotic. They're native here in California. So I've got a lot of them. So far, they're leaving my yellow ones alone. I like them to leave the red ones alone too, since those plants were smaller, but luckily they're easy to propagate. Sister Golden. Yeah, Sister Golden Hair. Yeah. Now you're making me think of old songs. Does the iron-on make it harder to stitch? It's a little stiffer. You can kind of hear let me see as I pull my needle through. There's a little bit more of a tug that I have to give on it because this is not thick yarn. This is fingering weight. But it does give a stiff enough feel to it that I don't have to use an embroidery hoop. So if I go back in here to add a few more things, as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, I need to make sure it's at the same level of my other stuff. Terry said, I follow someone on Instagram that does beach stone art. Oh, that's also cool to see, isn't it? And it just reminds us as how there's so many different ways for us to be creative. And again, creativity does not mean you have to get to the finish line, that you have to finish something and have it available to sell or give as a gift, or that you even have to do anything more than gather up. That's it. Andy Goldsworthy. Thank you, Sue. If you haven't seen his work, go Google him because he's just fascinating. I knew somebody else would figure that out. Somebody asked me the other day if starting a project, if you could include the idea of gathering your materials. And I'm sure all of us know that feeling that you get when you're thinking, okay, I want to start something new and I think it's going to be blue. And you go in and you start pulling out your blue fabrics or your blue fibers or your blue beads. And then you get some ideas. Maybe you're going to add a little bit of yellow and you go get some yellow things. And just playing with the materials, even if you never sit down to start that, somehow it gets those creative juices going, which is why always when I don't know what to do next, I will go organize something. I can be organizing my needles, which have no color to them. And it gets me thinking about, okay, I would use this size needle for that. And I would use this needle for something else. Oh, those beading needles got me thinking about a bead that I hadn't used for a while. And then I start thinking about, since the wildscapes, I don't really use the beads on them. They're more of a natural feeling. I was like, okay, what can I do? What kind of abstract work could I do? People don't usually see abstract work from me. So what could I do that was more abstract where I could use the beads, which is kind of where I started getting these ideas for where I want to go with this, these smaller pieces for open studios. And yet I think they will still have a feel of my wildscapes. They will still feel like Susan. They're just going to feel like a different version of Susan. And that's as much as I'll say about that right now, because I haven't started to play with it. And one of the things I learned when I was writing, because I would talk about my plots all the time, talk things out with a friend. And sometimes if you talk too much about a project before you've started to work on it, you can lose the energy. And boy, that's frustrating. So one of the things I'm discovering with this, when you pull it through the iron-on interfacing, because I cut such long strands. Oh, thank you, Barbara. She posted her thing about the compost art in the group. Is the more you pull it through, it tends to start to kind of unwind, which is kind of frustrating. All right, I want to, come back up here. So I probably shouldn't cut this so long, but I always seem to cut long threads. Auditioning elements for a project can be a creative process too. Absolutely. Like there was something I had here. There were a couple of things I had here. All right, this is just to give the idea of what Sue was talking about. This is a stitch that I wasn't doing when I did this, but I'm using it now. And this is just little bits of the overhead stitch. And so I could do some of those and bring it in here, and I can play around and say, okay, well, I do kind of like adding a little bit more texture like that. Or maybe I need, like, I'm not crazy about these little bits of yarn at all. I should bring it up closer so you can see. I'm not that crazy about these. They're so short. So I might just cut them off and then do some new ones, because I know this thread, this is a wool thread that is just beautiful, expensive but beautiful, and do some longer ones, or maybe do some longer ones around it. And then I have this little leaf, so I could decide to add some of it, but I don't think I'll do that. I think if it needs anything, it probably needs some more bullions. And I started putting beads in here, and I was afraid I was going to overdo the beads. So I stopped. Wendy said, Susan, have you ever done a wildscape in gray or silver tones? I have not yet. Wait a minute, I'm going to grab something that just came in yesterday. But I saw this yarn on eBay, and it made me think of several things. It made me think of a stormy beach. Made me think of like rocks and things on the beach. It made me think of underground. So, and I love this. This yarn is called Fizzle. Cat, this might be something you want to look for. I haven't found it in green yet, but I did find it in white, and we can, of course, dye it. So I just thought this was a very interesting, and so the grays are very fascinating to me. I'm also thinking about the 4 elements and thinking about doing, okay, how would I do the earth? How would I do fire, water, and air? I wouldn't do water that was just blue. It would have to be shades of blue. Would I do the same stitches for everything? And the air, I would not do just like a white thing for the air. I might do shades of, I don't know, like a real light purple and light blues. So I don't know. What do you guys think when you think of the 4 elements? What would you do as far as stitches go? There was another one. When I remember the other name of it, the other one that I found, I'll send it to you, because it looked like another interesting one with, with the textures that we like. Sue says there's no such thing as too many beads. You haven't dabbled in dyeing yet. Well, yeah, you don't need to, but, and maybe, I don't know if it's available in green because I didn't look for it in green. I just kind of happened across this because I was buying some other yarn from the gal and she had this and I just thought that was just interesting. Yeah, isn't it a fun looking yarn, Andrea? And can't you imagine so many things with it? So Wendy, when you think gray silver, what were you thinking of? Because I can't think of where in the wild you would see the gray silver. I can think of like the sand tones, like the Arizona desert. Sue said, I use running stitches to indicate airflow. Yeah, I was kind of thinking like the split stitch that I used in the water might work. And I would probably combine some needle felting, you know, with some wool roving on there. I love the sound of the white you just described. Some version of yellow, red, blue, and green for me, but stitches, stems. Yeah, I hate, well, you know what? I figured out what I hated about the split stitch, Sue, and I'm actually, believe it or not, the Wildscape, do I even have anything? I had sketches over here for a while. The 16 by 24 or 18 by 24, whatever the canvas is that I have, I'm thinking about how I would do this water that I want to do. And I actually think I'm going to do the split stitch again, but I'm going to do it differently. What I did that I didn't like is I was using wool yarn, which was great, but I was using it double, which I normally do for my French knots. And then every time you split it, you know, the yarn went apart and I just didn't like the look. It was just a lot of frustration with it. So if I use it with a single thread, I can split the yarn itself, which I think will give me a little bit more of what I want. I don't know. I'm going to play with it. Michelle said pretty yarn. Yeah, wasn't that neat? Andrew said, I thought scorched earth with a hint of red. Ooh. Barbara said, I love your idea, Susan, of getting a square of felt and just starting and seeing what it becomes. I might have to try that one. It was just so nice. If you look at an older video, you can go to my channel and search for, or probably just go to YouTube and search for Stronger Than the Storm. And that's the video I did of the blue vessel that I absolutely love how it came out. And it just started as a piece of felt. Wendy said, I was thinking more in terms of colors that you have used. I think the gray-white yarn you've shown reminds me of lichen on a tree bark in winter. That's true. And a winter scene. Now, that's something I haven't done yet. Winters here in California are pretty much the same as spring, summer, and fall, except summers are a lot drier. But I've got to look at my inspiration boards because a winter scene would be really fun to do. Maybe that's another thing. I'll do the 4 elements, and then maybe I'll think about the 4 seasons. I'm starting to think in terms of some themes. Okay, Carol, go take care of yourself and continue to heal. All right, good to see you for a little while. You know, when you have a theme, but you're not worrying about getting it to a place on a deadline, it's kind of nice because you can continually keep, working that theme over in your head. Like when I'm working on this and I'm thinking about these small pieces, and I will tell you that one part of the theme is the word seeds, and I'll just leave it at that. And so my brain is going over different versions of this and how I can expand on that. And, if you have a theme that you're working to and you have a story that you're telling yourself about why you're going into that theme, it continually informs your work as you're going forward. A lot of my early pieces like this, I was just playing, which is good and important, especially as you develop as an artist. But I had no story for this. It was just like, okay, I'm playing around. It has no title. I have no title. You guys throw some titles in the comments if you think of them, because it wasn't going anywhere for me. So now I'm thinking in terms of, okay, not that everything was going to go into a show, but if somebody asked me to describe a particular piece of work to them, what would I say? How would I take it farther for them so that they could get a feeling of connection to the art? Because we buy something, whether it's a food, a piece of clothing, or a piece of art, a book, we buy it because we feel connected. There's something in it that is calling to us. And so, I try now, because I am a writer by heart, is to think of the story. If I was going to write an artist statement about a piece of art, what would I say? What would I want somebody to walk away from feeling when they looked at it? Now, this piece, as I continue to work on it, I'm thinking about how we expand, we grow, we expand, because the vines are continuing to sprawl. But everything is connected. Every little bit of the vine is connected to another bit of the vine, because we're all connected. And that's pretty much the ongoing theme in all of my work at the base, is that everything is connected. But it hasn't told me what to call it yet, and it will. That happens. And sometimes I'll go to sleep and not even be thinking about a particular piece of art, and I wake up because I've been thinking about it during the day. I wake up and I was like, oh, that's what that one's called. Barbara said, Susan, when you did those pieces on felt, did you also have a backing? I did not. The felt was heavy enough that I was able to stitch. That was back before I was even using a hoop. So all of that was done just holding it on my lap and stitching. Sometimes I couched some stuff down, but mostly I just did some rambling stitches and filled in with more stitches and beads. It was more of a flat embroidery. Sue says, dude, that explains why I want to collect postage stamps and stickers and note cards and anything with a bit of art on it. Yes, exactly. Because we feel that connection. And it's like, okay, this is my trusty mug, whether it has coffee in it or water in it. This is what I'm drinking out of all the time. I have no idea, but I am absolutely connected to blue and white. And even though green is my favorite color, all the walls in the house are green. Up on the walls are blue and white plates. All of our dishes are the blue and white. And this is china that is no longer being made. And we use it every day because, doggone it, use your good stuff. Don't save it. Use your good stuff. Ooh, Barbara says, cool. You've just given me an idea for a 4 directions piece. What do you mean by 4 directions? So I'd like to hear about that. Ooh, I've been talking a lot. I needed water. I'm really feeling like I'm recovering from the whole working on this big project. And Tally had, use your good stuff. Absolutely. Tally had really pulled back from me while I was the last couple of weeks of working on the big project. I was so stressed that I guess I was radiating stress to her. And she's like, nope. Normally when she would come back from a walk with just my husband, she would immediately run over to me to come get some loves. And for a couple of weeks, she did not do that. She wouldn't snuggle with me in bed at night. She didn't want anything to do with me. And now finally she's back to hanging out with me at night. She snuggles with me most at night. She cuddles up as close as she can get. And that is just like the best feeling in the world. Barbara said, I'm going to get a piece of felt, and in each of the 4 corners, I'll begin in that direction and see how they want to dance with one another in the middle. Ooh, I like that idea. That direction's color. That is neat. Sue says, cool idea, Barbara. Terry said, I went to the post office yesterday and they had stamps that look like stickers. They said peace, happy, and different words of kindness. Oh, I like that. I love me some positive words, which does have something to do with this series idea I'm contemplating. Kat says, reminds me of the game Blokus, Barbara, but I love it. Oh, I don't know that game. Does anybody play any games on Zoom with a friend that doesn't live in the same area? I'm looking for a few of those ideas. Barbara said the idea came from you talking about the theme and starting with the theme, and suddenly there it was. Awesome. Well, Sue Brown does a lot with themes. She does the postcards. Who does the postcard prompts? And prompts and themes can be very much the same thing. Okay, if you go to any of the challenges and there is a daily prompt for an entire month, and only 3 of those prompts speak to you, well, what if, okay, if the prompt was use white on black and no other colors, okay, that's an entire theme. You could do a whole series of work with that, or you could do just one piece, which happens to be something that I'm pondering. I have 3 huge envelopes. They're the padded flat rate mail envelopes. So they're big envelopes and they are stuffed with black lace. And I have this idea on how, the ideas are like coming really fast now that the other thing is done. Thank you, Sue. Tori Chatfield of Cool Kooky Creations on YouTube does several prompt-based projects over the course of a year. You know, and sometimes it's cool just to look at past videos. If you just Google art prompts, you will get ideas. And again, you don't need to do every one. You might look at all of them and only one speaks to you, or there might be more than one. And if a bunch of them speak to you, a couple things you can do. Jot them down on a piece of paper and drop them in a jar and just pull one out. Jot them in a notebook so you can go back and forth and refer to the notebook. Write things down, because even when we think we're going to remember stuff, we don't remember stuff. Our brains are full of so many ideas that we tend to think we're going to remember all the good stuff, and we don't. We really don't. Just realized I forgot. I was going to get all prepped to take off. I have training after this, so I'm going to do a quick wardrobe change and then hop. Oh my goodness, I just realized my husband took off with the car. I have to text him to bring the car back. Hold on a sec. It's not my normal day. Totally forgot. Let's see, Barbara said, interesting cat. I just Googled Blockus. Yes, like that, those colors in the corners, but stitching with those colors and variations of them. Yeah, still good. Well, normally I go to training on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they closed on Monday. And I totally forgot that we had changed my days, and I don't know that he saw my text. Jerry Bellini is doing a Texture Tuesday every week with a different color. Okay, he said he'll be back by 1. I didn't. Sometimes if he goes to Santa Cruz to shop, it takes him longer. If he's just going down to our little local market, it doesn't take that long at all. Boy, but I totally forgot. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, Terry said, I have an appointment with the neurologist next week, and I can't remember why it's been so long waiting for the appointment. Oh, I have so many doctor's appointments lately, and I'm still waiting to hear back from the cardiologist about my test yesterday, which hopefully they'll tell me that my heart is just fine. That's what we're hoping for, everybody. Yeah, when you have to wait so long, especially when you're dealing with issues that you want to have solved, all right, I can get to the end of this thread and it will be just enough. So yeah, what does this piece make you guys think of? Because I do need to start thinking of a title for it. I do not have a title. More beads. I might put a few more beads on. I don't know. This was so much of a different time. Oh, you don't remember why you have the neurology appointment. I missed that part. Maybe John can help you remember. Mouse wants to know, could it be having concerns about memory? Barbara said, you have a big, good heart, Susan. I'm grateful for you in this hour. Oh, thank you so much, Barbara. That is the nicest thing. I appreciate that. Michelle says, I have to write down my ideas. Yes. Ooh, Kat said, I'm quite literal minded, but perhaps seeking light. I like that because that's what the tendrils of our plants do, right? Is we go out and we seek the light. And isn't that what we do as people? Don't we always navigate our way towards the light if we're looking to grow? When we've been hurt or we're depressed, of course, we tuck in and we want to be in the darkness. But I like to think that we are always seeking light. I'm going to play with that idea, Kat. Thank you. All right, I'm going to get 2 more stitches in here, and then I'm going to sign off so I can go put on my workout clothes. So when hubby brings the car back, because even though training starts at 1:30, I like to go down and ride the bike. Yeah, Terry, check you're really good about journaling that kind of stuff. There we go. All right. So I don't know if I'll work on this one next week or if I will bring one of the other close to finish line things, but maybe I'll continue doing the greens and then bring in some of the lighter threads next week. We will see. And yes, to Michelle for writing everything down. Don't lose those ideas. So many times I'm frustrated because sometimes it's just crossing the room. I've been down to pet the dog and I completely forget what I was going to write down. I always have a good session with my pal, Michelle. She works me hard. We are lifting the weights and doing all the good things to keep me healthy. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now.